Hello and welcome to another episode of the Classical Republican Book Review. Today we are getting started on the Machiavellian Moment by J.G.A. Pocock. Now, it's kind of a tough beginning. It's kind of like a master's thesis where you have to get into all the stuff that is kind of the stepping stones, the tools for what your thesis really is. So, in the first chapter, it's all conceptual vocabularies. He also talks about Sir John Fortescue, I think that's how you pronounce it, lived from 1390 to 1479, and he wrote In Praise of the Laws of England. And it's a dialogue, kind of like, a Platonic dialogue. And it's kind of boring. It talks about how the long use of laws and national circumstances equals good laws. In chapter 2, talks about Greeks and Romans and how they expected either a cyclical recurrence or fortune would enter in. That's just kind of their universal worldview. That's what he's getting at. And then there's on page 48 there is this equation. Now, I'll just read it here. It says experience, prudence, and the arcana imperii. Fortune plus faith equals providence. Providence minus faith equals fortune. Providence plus prophecy equals revealed eschatology, virtue and grace. These formulae constitute the model so far established of an intellectual equipment which lacked means of explicating the succession of particulars in social and political time, so that all responses to such particular occurrences must be found somewhat between the poles of experience and grace. We proceed to test the model by using it to explain the intellectual innovations which occurred when a conscious republicanism imposed upon minds limited by such an equipment the added burden of sustaining in time a political structure intensely conscious of its own fragility and instability. How that challenge came to be imposed is the theme of the next chapter. So it's I couldn't really sum that up in my own words. But in chapter 3 it talks about the vita activa and the vivere civile. So it's like the active life and the civil life. So in chapter 3, it also talks about Dante and republic in a Caesarean empire. Okay, so he was. So it's talking about the Ghibelline writers, and I'm going to be doing another. I may have already released another video about the Guelphs and the Ghibellines, to give you a little primer on that. And he also talks about how the rise of Sparta was the Renaissance ideal of a republic, and then also during that time, during the Renaissance, Publius's book 6 was translated. And that became a very good standard. See my video on Publius. And let me get in chapter 4 here. Let's see. The mixed regime and Venice are the example. Aristocratic versus the aristocratic democratic balance and application to Florence. So those are that's what's going on in chapter 4, and we'll leave it there for now. But yeah, it's a really rough beginning. Probably about chapter 4, it gets really fun and exciting, and something you want to dress up for. So here we go. Long live the Republic.